What's up, Fever Nation? I'm Alex Golden.
And I just bought a house.
Okay, and that is Casey Johnson. And welcome to the Fever Focus podcast, where we're going to be talking about preseason game number 2. The Indiana Fever fall to the Dallas Wings 95-80. And Casey, you were actually at the game, so I just have to ask one quick question. Did you have a helmet on in case Damiris Dantas missed another three-point shot that would have hit you maybe in the head?
Well, Alex, stop me if you've heard this one before. You get going to the game at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. You walk in and you sit down in your seat. You've got your Ben's pretzel, and then you watch your beloved Indiana basketball team give up an absolutely horrendous second quarter run because of the fact that their pressure release valve of a player that would help them avoid that run, unfortunately, is not playing in that game, and they just don't have the horses to run with the away team.
Yeah, not having Aaliyah Boston, not having Lexi Hall, it definitely makes a massive difference with what this Fever team is going to look like. And so it's hard to put too much stock into what we saw from this game. But if we're being honest with you, Monique Billings, 2 points, Sophie Cunningham, 1 point, Maisha Hines-Allen, 7 points. You just didn't really feel like you got a lot. And then to be clear with you, I mean, I didn't think Kelsey Mitchell was all that great herself either. It just kind of looked like the Fever were going through the motions. And I have to ask this question. I mean, because we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark here in a second. I don't want to bury the lead, but when you look at all of the players that just didn't really play well in that starting five that are going to be, outside of Caitlin, that are going to be a part of this core moving forward, did you feel like they were going through the motions because they are playing the Dallas Wings on opening night and they didn't want to show too much of their hand for that? Or was it just a matter of it's preseason basketball, we've been going through training camp, it's just maybe we're a little bit tired and the legs weren't there?
Well, Alex, fortunately for us, it does not matter what I think or what I saw at all, because the first thing that Stephanie White said when she sat down for her post-game presser before any question had even been asked was that the urgency simply wasn't there. The want to simply wasn't there. And you can go on a really crazy sliding scale with a ridiculous amount of variance in regards to how much that matters, how troubling it is in a preseason game where you're probably not trying to tip much of your cap at all toward the team that you are going to be playing on opening day, who are far from at full strength themselves. However, you do want to see that effort, and I think that they have probably gotten a stern talking to. Tomorrow against the Nigerian national team, I would be shocked if they don't come out with a little bit more urgency, because that was the thing that Stephanie said in her opening remarks. So, yes, I saw it, and I think Stephanie White did too.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, how can they not come out with more urgency when it felt like there was zero urgency in this game? So even just a little bit of urgency would matter. Do we expect Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hall to play in this game against Nigeria?
Aaliyah and Ty Harris are off the injury report. Lexi and Passat are still out.
Okay, and I think it's also interesting to just kind of monitor Caitlin Clark's minutes, because while she did have a pretty efficient night in 16 minutes, 21 points, 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 4 assists. She did have 3 turnovers, but you could tell that her mind was just thinking and she was trying to get people in the right spot. I thought it was a really good game from her, but it was a little bit scary there when she took a step back 3, and Alana Smith was just so slow to react. And honestly, we'll talk about more about Alana Smith here with her slow reactions in a minute, but that slow reaction to the closeout on Caitlin and then kind of just goofily stumbling into her to kind of try to block the shot. I mean, it was an awkward contest, in my opinion. It was ruled a flagrant foul. And so I'm just, when you saw that happen, how nervous were you for Clark? Because she came up pretty hobbled.
I was preparing my opening monologue for this podcast as soon as she hit the ground and started rubbing her knee, and I was thinking, I was fully expecting to start, for our video viewers, somewhat like this. and just being like, "You know, Alex, I don't know how many times I can do this."
Yeah.
But thankfully, she just hit her knee on the court, and she actually turned out to be just fine. And I would actually like to commend her because every time I bang my knee on something, it really takes everything within me not to cry for like 5 minutes. So the fact that she, the fact that she walked it off is really, really nice for me.
I think the difference between you and Caitlin Clark is the fact that she's a professional athlete and you're just an amateur athlete. So
Right?
it's
Yeah.
probably just a little bit easier for her to shake off getting,
Yeah.
a knee bump, right? And
Yeah,
a
she's
lot
one
of
of the
Smith.
best basketball players in the world, and I recently started upping my game on the treadmill by jogging for 15 to 20 seconds at a time. So
Right here, apples and oranges. It's the same sport. It's just it's the same athlete. It's just a different sport, right? But Alana Smith, she's playing a different sport sometimes because I will just say this: a lot of Fever fans were like intrigued by the fact that like maybe we can get Alana Smith on this team, bring her back home, that kind of thing. She goes to Dallas, and we're like, okay, who's going to be the four? It's Monique Billings, and so I thought it was so poetic in the first quarter. A great sideline out of bounds play, or actually under the basket out of bounds play, where Monique Billings set a screen on Alana Smith and
mm,
or actually not on Alana Smith. Alana Smith was guarding Monique Millings, and whoever was guarding Caitlin Clark, it was Odyssey Sims. Odyssey Sims, and so Monique Billings sets this beautiful screen on Odyssey Sims. Odyssey just gets hung up in the screen, and Alana Smith just stood there, and she just said, I'm going to leave Caitlin Clark wide open for three. I'm not even going to try to go out there and contest this. And Caitlin just splashes it. I'm thinking to myself, Alana, where is the closeout at all? Like, why did you not even run at her to make her want to put the ball on the floor or like
well, and then we saw what happened when she did later.
that?
So
She learned from her mistake. I got to do this next time. And then we saw how clumsy it was. But it was one of those things where I was like, that was a great screen by Monique Billings. And it was like one of the only things I really thought was a positive for Monique in this game. Did not really like anything that she did in this game at all, outside of a couple of nice screens here and there. But this was just a weird game to kind of evaluate. I did
yeah,
not get much out of it. I think that for me personally, like, I'm not saying I'm a Wings fan, but Paige Bueckers is fun to watch. She can
yeah.
shoot the basketball, and she was going, and it was fun early on to kind of see her and Caitlin going back and forth. And then you mentioned it, the second quarter from hell for the Fever, it was just a nightmare. And similarly to the game against the Liberty, we saw them let the Liberty get back into the game with that strong second quarter, and then they were able to kind of rally back, but not in this game. They could not stop the Wings in that quarter, and it was the reason they lost this game. They fought back in the second half a little bit when they were playing, more of their third string players. But I'm not worried about wins and losses
Yeah.
in preseason basketball. But like you said earlier, effort just was not there from outside of like maybe like KK and Raven and some other of the players that are trying to make a name for themselves. Like
The
Trailer, I thought
people
she
who
had a good
have
game.
urgency whether they wanna have it or not.
Right, and I thought honestly Trailer played pretty well in this game.
Yep.
So we can go a lot of different directions, but I don't know. I was just disappointed. I was really like, I sat down to spend my Thursday night watching a fun Fever game, and it
Yeah.
was like the complete opposite of what we saw in preseason game number one.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't look that great from the 14th row either for my friend's birthday, but,
14th
um
row, man, you guys
14th
got good
row.
seats.
Yeah, yeah, and they were like I think that they were like $65 or something like that. Preseason for those of you who don't know, whether it's Pacers, whether it's Fever, whatever, preseason is the time to go and like splurge and get good seats because 'cause they're always a fraction of the price for preseason of
Yeah.
what they're going to be any other time of the year. And being that close makes it kind of ironically hard to evaluate the game sometimes because you're so close to it. But I spent a lot of time, like, looking at people. As weird as it sounds to say, sometimes you want to look at physiques, you want to look at bodies, you wanna see, where people have
Where
maybe
are you going with this?
added weight, lost weight over the course of the season, or the off season rather. Like, for instance, being close to Caitlyn while she was playing last year and being close to play Caitlyn while she's playing this year. For instance, how much power it looks like she has in her legs right now. The
Mhm.
definition on her legs, they're tree trunks compared to last year. I was also really impressed by how physically imposing of a person, Mo is. She's an absolutely a stacked individual in terms of stature, and she is going to be a very physical presence on the court. You can just tell from being up close to her. Those were a lot of the things that I were looking for, like, in this particular scenario, because what can you get out of a preseason game, again, where Aaliyah Boston is missing? So many of their issues stemmed from not being able to make shots around the perimeter. And so many of their shots around the perimeter missing had to do with the fact that they weren't really being guarded all that much on the inside. And the fact that they weren't being guarded that much on the inside is because Monique Billings was playing small ball five. And she was playing small ball five, which is out of position for her. And Maisha Hines Allen was playing a four. And then the reason why that was happening was because Aaliyah was not in the game. If you had Lexi in the game and she was shooting, how does that change it's just difficult to honestly, I think the only time that you really could evaluate, because the starters are just kinda doing whatever, the only time you really could evaluate was in the second half, and that's where we found out a lot about the urgency of the players who are on the back half of this roster, and some of them played very well. Some of them, unfortunately, may have taken themselves out of the rotation a little bit, and Alex, unfortunately, I think that has to start with Damiris Dantas.
Oh, she was awful last night, and you could really see that this is a player that looks like she has missed the first week of training camp. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what it came down to me. Like, I don't think she looked like she was in bad shape. It's kind of weird that she was really good rebounding the basketball in this game as well.
Out of rhythm and jet lagged, but
Yes.
unfortunately, that just she'll have that probably means she'll have to play her way back into the rotation, to an extent, because it was just really rough at a time when Makayla Timpson has been doing really good things and showing out, and it's unfortunate that she got here late, but sometimes that just creates an opportunity. I mean, what was the famous story about Tom Brady? Tom Brady may have ridden the bench his entire career if he hadn't gotten the shot from the starter going down. So
I
sometimes
never
that
thought I would hear
lacking
Tom
just
Brady compared to Makayla Timpson in a podcast we're doing here for the Fever Focus, but here we are, not
yeah.
even 10 episodes in, and we're calling out the GOAT potentially of football to the Pacers, potentially third string center. But I mean, I'm here for it. KK is definitely earning her spot in the rotation. But like you mentioned, no Aaliyah Boston. So, of course, Monique is going to start at the four. This means Maisha Hines Allen is clearly above Makayla Timpson and Damiris Dantas in the pecking order as of now. So how this all kind of shakes out, we talked about it with the training camp battles between Dantas and Timpson, but I don't know. I have this gut feeling that Steph White is going to lean more towards the veteran, and I do believe they like having the versatility out there in the front court. Which, if you have KK and Maisha Hines Allen out there together, you have no floor spacing. And I think that with Dantas, even if she is 0 of 8 and throwing, bricks at the rim, you're still having the thought that she could do it. Like KK is not even looking to shoot. If Aaliyah can shoot the basketball, that obviously helps with your matchup lineups and who you can play, especially depending on how much you do want to play Aaliyah throughout the season in terms of like minutes per game. But yeah, it's one of those things where she was just so bad. But I don't want to backtrack too much, but I feel like we didn't spend enough time on Caitlin Clark. I thought you brought up a really good point. I was giving you a hard time because you were like, I like people watching. And I'm like, if you would have just said player watching, it wouldn't have been different. But you kind of like led into it as like you're watching other people in the crowd. And I was like, where is he going with this? Um, but then you
Hey,
said
I
Caitlin
like
Clark.
that too.
Hey, I'll tell you what, my grandpa, he tells me all the time, I like going to the mall just to watch people. It's just funny.
Mhm.
It's just, people are interesting. And I said, you know what? That's a good spirit to have, but I'm that's not for me. So Caitlin Clark, though, the 11 of 13 from the free throw line, I don't think we should just like breeze right over that,
Yeah.
because the fact that she was getting to the basket and drawing contact, that to me is a good sign. And I think you mentioned her just showing the strength that she's added in her lower body. That's going to help her be able to make tough shots through contact and continuation situations. So that's a big positive there. But then for her to, applaud and tell the media that she really liked the officiating. And
Yes.
I think that was something you brought up a couple episodes ago. Like, they're really trying to work on how this, the league is officiated, because last year was such a crapshoot. It was terrible. And so I think that as you're seeing the league evolve and learn how to call fouls and grow as referees, I mean, the Fever shot 42 free throws last night compared to the Wings 17. I mean, that's an egregious amount. Caitlin
Mhm.
Clark had 13 herself. I mean, so she almost shot as many as the entire Wings team.
Yeah, and, the to me, because there are going to be moments here where we're probably going to say things that people don't like, but we also have to look at things objectively. And Caitlin Clark is the type of person who, if they're going to be calling more fouls in general over the course of the entire league, Caitlin Clark is going to be getting some form of a preferential whistle. She is a megastar. She is a huge bankroller for the league. There has not been one superstar in the history of sports who has not gotten some form of a preferential whistle. So I will put a slight asterisk, and I will say, of course, Caitlin Clark, whose jersey I'm wearing, whom I love, is happy about the media or happy about when she's talking to the media is sorry, I bought a house today. Is happy when she's talking to the media about the officiating being a little bit better as far as calling more fouls because she has been very much targeted, and that's the point of this where all of this goes back around and becomes super fair. She's been targeted by the rest of the league so much that her body has been sent through a meat grinder these last couple of years. And with them not calling any of the 5 fouls that could happen per possession on Caitlin Clark because she's been hunted out there, of course, she's going to be really happy about the fact that finally she's going to be getting the kind of whistle, that she thought she was going to be getting, entering the league. It's one of those things where you do have to play the game, but I think Caitlin Clark is in a rare situation as a face of the league type player who has a really, really, really good point to make in spite of it maybe being a preferential whistle sometimes.
Well, hey, we've seen Indiana teams get screwed over by the preferential whistle. That's a
Yeah.
tough thing to say. I don't know how you said that so articulately. That was incredible, though.
Communication degree, baby.
I did not take one of those, but here I am on a podcast for what, 7, 8 years now. Good grief, I've been doing this for a long time. But anyway, I think it's fascinating because I love seeing that the Fever have the star of the WNBA, the face that everybody wants. And look, I don't want special treatment for a star, but I also, because I don't want people to be like, oh, the Fever are just winning because of Caitlin Clark because she's getting a special whistle. I don't want that.
Mm,
But I also think that she is just very good at drawing contact. Like that is just
yeah.
something that it's a skill. And I'm an NBA guy. I cover the NBA mostly. So like, I'm going to go back to like a Luka Doncic or a James Harden. Like those are two prominent guards that are so fascinating at how they're able to use their quick dribble and their pull up to draw fouls. And I think Jalen Brunson, another player that's very good at doing that as well. SGA, the MVP of the league. You don't like watching that brand of basketball, but I just think that Caitlin, like, she's been basically like drive to the basket or a 3-point shot. You don't really, I mean, she
Mhm.
might hit the runner every once in a while, like a pull up jumper, but she really likes to shoot the three. And whether she's shooting from right behind the arc or from the logo, like she'll pull it up from anywhere. But I think that now that she's adding this layer of physicality to her game, it's
Yeah.
just going to make her a 3-level scorer more than she already has been. And if she can get to the free throw line, you can maybe even say she's a 4-level scorer by being able to add that to her arsenal. So I'm blown away by, just the improvement we saw because no matter how you feel about Paige Bueckers, and I know there's been a lot of comparisons like Paige versus Caitlin has kind of become this new rivalry thing, and I'm here for it. I think both are very incredible, young players that still have so much room to grow and improve. But, Paige was not shooting the three. Like
Mhm.
last year, like we saw in this game, like her three looked smooth. And we were talking about this off air a little bit, like what is the NBA comp to both of these players? Because I'm like, there's aspects of Paige's game that I like a little bit more, maybe. Maybe the shot is a little bit cleaner than Caitlin's. I don't want to say that all the way because I haven't evaluated their game enough, but I just think that you saw Caitlin just had a slight advantage in almost everything and points, free throws, assist. It's just one of those things where Caitlin, I think, is just a better all-around player, but Paige has such a beautiful shot. It's hard not to like it, but I just really like the way that we're seeing Caitlin utilize herself and just grow as a player. But the 4 assists to me, like she's just going to rack those assist numbers up as the season goes on. Getting Aaliyah out there is going to make Caitlin's life so much better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and it's worth noting as well that we have a lot of new people who are getting used to the Caitlin Clark style of passing too, and there were a few passes that she threw that ended up being turnovers that were sort of gambly. That was one thing that, Stephanie White said in her post-game presser was that they were going for the home run play a lot of times, as opposed to going to the easy play, and they kept sort of predetermining in their head, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this," and then sticking to that script rather than making quick decisions and actually reading what was open, which is a really good indicator, right, that you're just, like, nervous, you're keyed up, it's your first game in front of your fans, which, the thing is too, we talk about these uncharacteristically large, crowds that the Indiana Fever have a tendency to have as compared to the rest of the W. But when you have a crowd that big, they are all expecting greatness out of you, especially coming off of a semifinals run, and that is nerve-wracking as all get out. So, as far as evaluation is considered, I was even thinking during the game, like, I know we've gotta talk about the game, but the unnatural, uncomfortable truth is that the game right now, as far as the back end roster spots, may be the part that matters the least in some ways. Training camp every day, practice reps every day, where everybody is getting looks for themselves. Everybody is getting plays called for them. We're really trying to see what they do as opposed to them just having to improv it on the fly. There's only so much that you can look into this. But in regards to Caitlin Clark, that was a really fun first quarter, especially with her and Paige dueling.
All right, let's kind of transition now to that second half. Like you kind of teased that a little bit earlier. I'm sorry to go back and talk more Caitlin, but just felt like it was topical. Kiana Traylor, she looked really good in this game. I felt like she had some big shots. She was a +8 in the plus minus. Believe she was the only positive for the Fever in the plus minus column, and I kind of felt that on the court because she had some big moments. Megan McConnell played 9 minutes mostly in the fourth quarter. Jessica Timmons played 11 minutes, and then Shatori Walker-Kimbrough played 20 minutes. So out of those four, I guess we can just kind of do like a quick ranking. How would you rank those four in terms of their performance against the Wings?
Megan McConnell didn't really do anything wrong. She didn't really do anything like super duper well. But also she had a number of those scrappy effort plays that the McConnell family is known for. And so it's hard to say that she was absolutely terrible. I would probably put her like third of those. I would say, and this might surprise you, but for me, Shatori probably played the best of the four of them. It wasn't as flashy as those shots that Kiana Traylor made, but she just was. She looked like she was a member of the rotation. You
Hmm.
didn't see her out there and think, this is somebody who's fighting for a roster spot, which was really nice. Timmons, I felt like performed probably the worst out of any of them. She was just kind of there over the course of the game, and then that puts Traylor at the number 2 position for me. And honestly, if it had not been for a couple of plays that she sort of I don't wanna say ruined, but a couple of missteps that she had, she probably would have been in the number 1 spot, but for those shots that she made, 2 of them being from 3 and all of them being at heavy times when they were needed, she had a few plays where she just could not catch the ball, when it was being thrown to her or what have you, and even, like, fumbled it on a couple of, like, really easy passes to bring the ball up the court. So for me, I would be the question is, if you're looking at Traylor versus McConnell for that spot, do you want the person who did not produce a lot of stats, but also did not make any mistakes, or somebody who had high highs and low lows? And that's why I get to, man, I just wish I had a camera to see the entirety of their practices at this point, because that is the real front lines of where this battle's taking place at this point.
Well, and I think also you just have to keep in consideration who's getting more minutes, who's going into the lineups quicker. And I think that for the last couple of games, we've seen Megan McConnell is the last one off the bench.
Yeah.
But as much as it hurts for us to say that because we were rooting for her like crazy to make this roster, even if just on a developmental player contract, that's all she will get if she does make this roster. But I mean, you heard the pop through the TV. I'm sure when you heard it in the arena, like when she got announced into the game, the fans went crazy. So
Yeah.
I think people are rooting for her. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do want to bring her. I know there was some speculation that Justine Passat wanted a standard contract, and I had seen that floating around on social media. And then Justine actually put out a tweet that we shared today where she basically said, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet," and put like the crazy eyes emoji. And I was like, what is she referring to? And I don't know if you did any more sleuthing into that, but uh,
I did everything that I could, but that one thing I will say is that on Justine Passat's Instagram story, she spoke about how she went to the doctor today, which, by the way, people had been phrasing this as like, "Ooh, mystery injury. Maybe she's not." She said, "I was at the doctor." So, there's that. Breaking news, she's actually injured. Um, but the only thing that she has really said other than "don't believe the media" is that she was at the doctor and had a really amazing interaction with somebody who gave her these little, like, angel keychains or something like that.
okay.
So she was just like, "Oh my god, I just met this super lovely." So it doesn't really seem like communication from somebody who is ready to throw up her hands as a rookie and make a Kobe Bryant style demand, but if you'd allow me to, I would like to 100% confirm some news. She did want a standard contract. They all do. What are we talking about? What are we doing here? Of course she wanted a standard contract. There's nobody who comes into the league and is like, "Oh man, I really hope I can get a two-way slot." No, of course she wants a standard contract. What are we doing?
You said breaking news. I was like, oh man, does he got some breaking news or
Oh,
something?
there have been rumors that she wants a standard contract. I want a standard contract. I
Yeah, with Ben's pretzel.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think it's great. I mean, I just, Justine Passat, like this is somebody you want to see out there on the court during these type of games too. And so it was a little bit sad not to be able to see her and kind of build off what she did against the Liberty. She had some big threes there in that game. But I mean, I think the reason why Traylor's threes stick out so much to me is because of how poorly the Fever shot from three. Only Kiana
Mhm.
Traylor and Caitlin Clark made threes in this game. They
Yeah.
shot 17% as a team, 4 for 23.
They were
That
so
is awful.
timely too, is the
Yes,
thing.
yes. They were important shots because they were kinda making that little fake comeback in the fourth quarter, and it was good stuff, but I actually agree with your ranking 1 through 4. You did it a little bit out of, sequence there, so Shatori Walker-Kimbrough 1, Kiana Traylor 2, Megan McConnell 3, Jessica Timmons 4. Yeah, I thought Timmons was much better in the Liberty game than this game, did not notice her at
Mhm.
all really doing anything. I thought Megan McConnell, like you said, some of those hustle plays that she made were big. You could kind of feel like the energy that she brings. And I'm feeling TJ vibes, just like you could just feel the presence of TJ on the court coming out there at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So I was like, okay, Megan, let's do it.
Yeah.
But Shatori actually looked really pretty solid in this game.
Yeah.
I don't love the missed free throws, but you can tell she's a vet that's been around for a while. The 4 assists were really big to me. The 2 steals also were big, but yeah, I thought that was a great way to kind of talk about those two. And so I want to transition now to 2 players we talked about a lot last episode, Raven Johnson, Makayla Timpson. And I don't know if I shared it with you, but I definitely put it on Twitter and I put it in one of the Fever Facebook group pages. And I said the 3-2-1 nickname for that duo right there for like, hey, we need some defense. Here's
Yeah.
the 3-2-1 because right when the wings started going on their run in that second quarter, here comes Stephanie White and she's like, okay, let me get Raven in the game, let me get Makayla in the game, and you can look at their stats, but I mean, good grief, Raven Johnson, 5 steals. What are we talking about here? And 5 assists. This to me was just another, feather in the cap for Raven Johnson to say, look, I'm not a lead ball handler. I'm not a lead scorer, but boy, can I pass the ball and boy, can I play some crazy defense. Even when she had a mistake, she made a turnover, immediately goes right back, gets a steal, creates an opportunity for her team. I mean, that is just what she does. She has those game-changing plays that are going to be apparent throughout the regular season. So I like both of the way they played, but I felt like Raven to me had a stronger game overall than Makayla, but still liked what they both did.
Yeah, Makayla ended up putting up a number of, stats. Sadly, a lot of them were late in the game, so they only only kind of count. That's just the way preseason basketball works. But yeah, there's one play that Raven had that I have been ruminating on, and I think one of the reasons why I noticed it so much is because of where I was seated. Like I said, I was 14th row, and I was behind the, basket, on the Fever side that they started out on. And Raven had it was a she ended up not converting, and making the shot, but she had a moment where she was driving on Paige Bueckers, and she essentially like, in football, we would have called it a rub route. Like, she had this moment where she just barely grazed up against Paige, didn't lower the shoulder, didn't do anything, but just created a little bit of contact to create a little bit of separation, all while she's sprinting at full speed, and ended up getting a good look that unfortunately didn't go in. But it was one of those because where I was sitting, this was happening as she's sprinting directly at me. So I like really noticed it, and she's coming straight, and then she kind of zigs and creates a little bit of contact with Paige and zags. She has no fear, man. And that is something you just have to take into account.
Absolutely. And so I do want to kind of close things out here by talking about something that is very important to team building, and that is picking up rookie extensions and options. And we found out this week that the Fever, which is obviously a no brainer, but still, it is news because it is news. The Indiana Fever pick up the rookie option on the last year of Caitlin Clark's rookie option on her deal for next season. So tell us a little bit more about how that works and maybe the similarities that it has to what we just saw with Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. So the picking up her contract option gives them the opportunity to give her an epic extension next year. What everybody has to understand is that that was a formality. I know that she was extension eligible right now. For one, Caitlin Clark is not presently hurting for money, which is one thing, but also she stands to make more money on this epic provision than she does just accepting a contract extension now. And this was just something where Caitlin understands, the Fever understand. Whenever you have a player under team control and you have the option to have her again at another year for cheap, you're going to do that, especially when she is, right, the face of your franchise unequivocally. And so this is not something that should surprise anybody. And I did have people like, I had somebody message me and say, "Well, does this like bode well for like Sophie next year?" And it's like, maybe, but the linchpin of this probably is going to end up being Kelsey. I want everybody, as soon as this podcast is done, go to the Fever's YouTube page. On the Fever's YouTube page, they posted a video called Training Camp Episode 2. It's like a 6-minute video, and the first like 3 minutes are everybody talking about how much Kelsey means to this franchise. At one point, Aaliyah says, "Kelsey is the franchise." That's how highly they think of her. So I would say it would have more of an effect on next year in terms of somebody like Kelsey than I would with anybody else. But that sort of is a problem for next year. But either way, this may means that Caitlin Clark is in line for the biggest money that the WNBA can legally offer her.
Right. And I think that's obviously what you're going to do if you're the Fever, because she is the face of your franchise and she is the reason why so many people are tuning into the WNBA. I mean, look at all the arenas they're selling out when she's out there on the court because people just love watching her. But I would, agree completely with what you said about that video. You sent it to me before we got on here, probably like 30 minutes before we got on here. And so I was like, okay, I got to watch this in case we talk about this at all. And boy, oh boy, I mean,
Oh my god.
I'm new to the Fever world. Okay. I've watched as a casual fan. Okay. But things in sports that are sentimental, they get me almost every time. And so I'm sitting here watching this video and like the music undertones are just beautifully, they're beautifully picked. And
Perfect editing, man.
yes, when Kelsey was actually speaking to Pacer Sports and Entertainment about what they've meant to her, That is what got me because, I know so many people that work for this, organization and how many great people just, from the broadcasters to the season ticket sellers or, all this kind of stuff, people that do the scorekeeping, whatever. Like, there are so many people involved to make this operation work. And for her just to be like, I just want to be chill and nice to everybody. And, I just hope y'all are having a good day, And you could just see Caitlyn was sitting there with her talking. And Caitlyn was just kind of soaking it all in because one thing Steph White said is she's learning how to use her voice a little bit more,
Mm,
where she's been more so of a leader by example, but now she's being a leader by example and by kind of being a vocal leader. And it's just one of those things where you see players grow as they just get more comfortable in their role. And Caitlyn even said this in her, confessional or whatever you want to call it, in the moment interview that she did. She basically said, I couldn't ask for a better, backcourt teammate. She cuts, she shoots, she plays defense 94 feet. Like, this is something that was just, it was a really sweet video. And by the end of it, I text Casey, I said, I'm not crying, you're crying.
yeah.
Because it was just one of those things where I was like, is somebody cutting some onions up around me? Why am I getting all teary eyed watching this 6-minute video? So, did a really good job kind of, just breaking down how important Kelsey Mitchell has been to this franchise. And I don't want to say it was like a send off because we know she might not be here next year, but I do believe that it is the reality that could take place. Also, I wonder if she would be willing to take a pay cut to be here long term, if she just feels comfortable here in this city, and if the Fever do win an NBA WNBA championship this season, would she want to repeat with this group, maybe at lesser money, knowing that, she's one of the best players, but maybe she wants to stay with this core. Maybe she wants to keep having that success. We saw a lot of players from the Liberty take pay cuts to make their roster work. So could that be the case? Or who knows what the salary is going to look like next year either? Could it go up as there's more, revenue from how the league does this year? So I just think it's all like a learning curve right now. And we're just trying to take it day by day with everything. But
Yeah.
you have to make sure that Caitlin Clark is prioritized. She is the most important thing to this franchise for the present and the future. And if it does mean at some point Kelsey Mitchell is no longer a part of this team, that happens a lot of times. You see a lot of veteran players that are with an organization for 10 plus years, sometimes leave on their own, fruition, and sometimes they leave because there's just not space for them to be on the roster anymore. And it's an emotional breakup, but business is business at the end of the day. And this
Mhm.
was a business move that the Fever had to make. And I mean, you're telling me Caitlin Clark's going to get the richest contract next season? I think every WNBA player would say she deserves it.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about the WNBA is the WNBA gets dogged, rightfully so in some cases, a lot for being an overly emotional league sometimes. There is, a lot of pettiness, there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of stuff that is just the negative side of emotion that you don't like seeing, that the league is still trying to work its way through. The positive side of that is that it is an overly emotional league, and you see so many beautiful examples. The Liberty are a really good. They all took pay cuts just so that they could keep playing together, because in a way that I have not seen in the NBA, in the NFL, in any other sports league, these women, like, legitimately love each other. Like,
Mhm.
really, honestly, hardcore love each other, are a family, and I think that's why I get so frustrated, Alex, when I see all of these rumors about all of this infighting, and there's this and that, and they actually hate each other, and, like, no, they don't, man. Everybody involved loves Kelsey. Kelsey loves everybody involved. There were people saying last year that Kelsey wanted out. You're wrong and dumb. I don't know what to tell you. This is a group of women who are so close to one another, and I would not be shocked if they ended up, a number of them, taking pay cuts in the coming years just so that they could continue being together, their family away from their family, their home away from home. They're spending the entire summer together. It's different than a winter league. Summer is when you do fun stuff. They're doing fun stuff together. Like, it just, I don't know. Those are the moments, and that's the type of video where I really, really love, love, love this league.
No, it's incredible, and I would say that the Pacers probably have, and the Fever have probably some of the best videographers out there.
Oh my god, they're so good.
Even though there was a little bit of pushback for some AI usage by Caitlin Clark, and everybody on Twitter is all against AI slop, and I do understand the sentiment. that when you are a paid professional graphic designer with an organization, that maybe you could find ways to not have to use AI. But for people that don't have a lot of money and might use AI for graphic help, I don't think it's the end of the world. But I do think that for organizations that are, you know, billion-dollar operations, I don't know if you need AI. I mean, what's really funny to me is the Pacers used an AI video when they signed Mac McClung, and the outrage that came from that from fans was through the roof. And it's like, y'all, we live in a time now where AI is literally everywhere. You go to Google, and what do you get? You get AI responses at the top. It's not that it's one thing to rely on it and just put all your eggs into one basket for the AI stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't get too much into this conversation because a lot of people are anti artificial intelligence and all that it's doing to the world, but it is definitely something that no matter how much you might hate it, the majority of the world is using
Word.
it. And that is it from Casey Johnson on the AI conversation.
Brother,
Hands
I'm
are up.
right over here.
All right, come on at me in the YouTube comment section. I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? I'll take that one on the chin. So anyway, Fever Nation, it has been a pleasure talking with you. And me and Casey, we're going to dive into some more stuff, but we decided to kind of hold on to that for our next episode. I don't think we're going to dive too much into the Nigerian game for the Fever, but I think that there has been some stuff floating around here, Casey, that might get Fever fans excited, and that is the idea that maybe the Fever could make a trade to bolster their front court and someone that was a part of the same draft class as Caitlin Clark. So we're going to tease that a little bit here. I don't know if you want to add any more to that tease, but that is what we're going to talk about on the next episode.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to each other about it, dive into it a little bit, and I certainly have some thoughts.
All right. Well, we know that this is just around the corner, so keep an eye on that. And if you're curious who we're talking about, I'm pretty sure you already know who it is. But with that being said, Fever Nation, we thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode here of the Fever Focus. And if you're open, the Fever can close things out on the preseason with a bill of health and some good showings from our young players. And Casey, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Fever.